When I bought this house, I expected creaky floors, maybe a leaky pipe or two. Typical fixer-upper stuff. You know, the kind of place with charm, and just enough mystery to make you nervous at night. But nothing could have prepared me for what I found in the fireplace. Behind the bricks, tucked in a crevice like it was never meant to be found, was an envelope. Burnt at the edges, sealed shut, and full of secrets that someone clearly didn't want surviving the flames. I opened it carefully and found three things. Three pieces of a story someone tried to erase. First, a marriage certificate, dated July 8, 1973. Two names, Jonathan Calloway and Margaret Ellis. Second, a faded photograph, clearly old, clearly intimate. A man and woman on a beach, wind in their hair, wedding clothes, smiles that didn't look staged, and scribbled on the back in shaky handwriting, "She'll find out. She always does." And third, a handwritten note. Torn from a yellow legal pad, the ink smudged. It said, "She can't ever see this. It would ruin everything." So here's the problem. Jonathan Calloway was publicly married to someone else, Evelyn Calloway. She inherited this house, his pension, his name, his story. But this certificate proves he was already married to Margaret. And unless something changed legally, that marriage may have still been valid when he died. Which begs the question, who hid this? And what were they so desperate to keep buried? Once I found the marriage certificate, I started digging. Not just into records, but into people. Three names kept showing up, like threads in a sweater that was about to unravel. Evelyn, the woman who lived here until just last year. Nolan, the lawyer who handled Jonathan's estate. And Virginia, the housekeeper who saw it all, and maybe helped hide it. Evelyn refused to meet in person, said she didn't want to be dragged into internet drama, but she did give me a statement over the phone. A very carefully worded one.
"I was with Jonathan for 40 years. Margaret was just a past mistake. I never saw that certificate. People will say anything when there's money involved."
She didn't ask what the certificate said. She didn't ask to see it. She just denied. But public records show Evelyn filed for survivor benefits 24 hours after Jonathan died, before his obituary even went live. Then there was Nolan Ridge. He handled Jonathan's will. He was polite, polished, and just evasive enough to make you second-guess everything he said.
All estate paperwork was reviewed and filed according to California law. If someone believes otherwise, I suggest they pursue it through legal channels, not on YouTube.
What Nolan didn't mention is that he's listed as a witness on Evelyn's property paperwork. And the notary who finalized that transfer? Evelyn's sister. And finally, Virginia. She's 78 now. Used to clean this house 3 times a week, every week for almost a decade. She didn't hesitate to talk.
That woman loved him, Margaret, and he loved her in his own dumb way. She used to sit right by that fireplace, writing letters, I remember, because I dusted around her every Wednesday. Then one day, she was just gone. After 1976, I never saw her again.
Virginia swears she never saw the envelope. But when I asked her about Evelyn's sudden move into the house, she just smiled and said,
"Some people clean up more than just dust."
Each one of them, Evelyn, Nolan, Virginia, knew a different version of Jonathan's life. But only one of them was willing to lie about it. Here's what stood out. Evelyn claimed she never saw the marriage certificate, but public records show she collected spousal survivor benefits from 2015 to 2022. Nolan never filed a marriage license between Jonathan and Evelyn, and Virginia. She received a $2,000 gift from Evelyn's account the week after Jonathan's funeral. Who's lying? Evelyn had motive, Nolan had access, and Virginia? She had a front row seat, and maybe took a payment to stay quiet. Let's connect the dots. Because buried in the soot and silence, was the truth Evelyn didn't want anyone to find? First, the note that came with the certificate. burned at the edges, hidden behind brick. The handwriting? It's Evelyn's. Same loops, same pressure, same slant as her property documents. It wasn't a warning for someone else. It was a reminder to herself. She can't ever see this. It would ruin everything. Then came the letter, written by Margaret herself in 2014. Not just a love letter, a record. She says it plainly. We never divorced. She references Evelyn, the silence, the betrayal, and she signs it, knowing that one day someone might need the truth in her own words. And finally, the tax form, filed in 2016, after Jonathan's death. Evelyn signed it, but not as Evelyn. She signed it as Margaret Calloway. Same handwriting, wrong birth year. The state processed it, assuming Margaret was still alive. But Evelyn was just borrowing her name and her house. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't confusion. It was a lie. One forged on paper, sealed in ash, and buried behind brick. Margaret was the real wife. Evelyn just made sure no one remembered. Until now.